photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6III Outperform.
Welcome to the Nikon Z6III. This is the newest addition to the Nikon range of Z series cameras. It includes a lot of technical features borrowed from the Nikon Z9, Z8 and ZF. It also includes some unique features that we've never seen in the Nikon Z series range of cameras before. I'm going to talk to you in detail about some of those features, and hopefully there's some really exciting stuff in the Nikon Z6III for you. First things first, the Nikon Z6III includes the world's first partially stacked imaging sensor. We've seen stacked imaging sensors before in the Nikon Z9 and the Nikon Z8. And when it came to the Z6III, Nikon wanted something that was subtly different to those stacked sensors. The partially stacked sensor that you'll find in the Nikon Z6III allows it to have a considerably faster readout speed. In fact, 3.5 times faster readout speed versus the Nikon Z6II. This means that the information from the camera's imaging sensor can be delivered to the processor at a much faster rate. When combined with the Expeed 7 processor, it allows the Nikon Z6III to have faster autofocus calculations, less rolling shutter distortion, and better ISO performance. The Nikon Z6III joins the Expeed 7 series of Nikon Z mount cameras. The Nikon Z8, Z9, and ZF all sharing that same processor and menu system. When it comes to the exterior design of the Nikon Z6III, a lot of the button placement has been borrowed by the Nikon Z8 and Z9. So if you are a Z8 user or a Z9 user, you should feel right at home with the Nikon Z6III. And if you're switching from a Nikon DSLR, the core Nikon values of button placement and menu system are still the same. So it's going to be very easy to learn and very easy to customize. When it comes to specific buttons on the Z6III, we have a dedicated video record button, a dedicated ISO button, exposure control button, like you would find on the Z8 and the Z9. And then around the back of the camera, we have an AF toggle, a dedicated AF on button, a fully customizable I menu, and then a switch to switch you between stills and video. The Z6III also makes use of Nikon's user modes. Like the Z6II and the Z7 II, you have a U1, U2, and U3, which are selectable from the top of the camera, and allow you to create your own user banks and collection of settings. The Z6III has also been built with ruggedness in mind, with weather sealing equivalent to that of the Nikon Z8, and the use of materials like magnesium alloy to help with temperature management. You'll also find that the rear display on the Z6III is a vari-angle flip screen, which is useful if you want to record yourself or if you want to shoot vertically. The Z6III is designed to be the smaller camera body, being slightly smaller than the Nikon Z8. But if you do need to use it with a vertical grip, you can attach the Z6III's vertical grip to the bottom of the camera, giving you the choice of more buttons, controls, a second shutter button, and then making use of a second battery for extended battery life. When it comes to the ports on the Z6III, you'll find a mic input, a headphone input, USB-C, and then a full-size HDMI port on the side of the camera. When it comes to memory cards of the Z6III, you can make use of an XQD card or a CF Express card, and they enter into the same slot. And then you have a second slot for an SD card. Both of those memory card slots then give you the choice when it comes to choosing the right memory card for you based on speed and capacity. When it comes to the Nikon Z6III's speed and frame rate, you can shoot at 20 frames per second in full raw image quality when using the electronic shutter. When using the mechanical shutter, you can shoot at 14 frames per second in full raw image quality. You can also shoot at 30 frames per second, which is a full resolution JPEG file, 60 frames per second, which is full resolution JPEG as well. Shooting at 120 frames per second means that the camera crops to DX. That DX frame will give you a full resolution file, which is 10.6 megapixels in a JPEG format at 120 frames per second. All of those different frame rates means that you have loads of different options, whether you're using the camera for static subjects like landscapes, whether you're using it for moving subjects like sports, wildlife, or for events like weddings and portraiture. Pre-release capture is a feature that we've seen on the Nikon ZF, Z8, and Z9 previously, and it now comes to the Nikon Z6III. Pre-release capture allows you to start shooting before you've even fully pressed the shutter button. It means that you don't ever miss a moment if you're waiting for a subject to move, or if you're trying to capture unexpected moving subjects like wildlife or sports. Pre-release capture can let you shoot for up to 1 second before you've fully pressed the shutter button in 30, 60, or 120 frames per second. One of the biggest changes on the Nikon Z6III, and this is something I noticed straight away when I first used the camera, is the new viewfinder. It's the highest resolution viewfinder that Nikon's ever put into a Z series camera. And it's also the brightest electronic viewfinder you can get in any mirrorless camera currently. The viewfinder's extra brightness and extra resolution becomes extremely apparent in difficult lighting situations. Along with that increase in resolution and that increase in brightness, the viewfinder's frame rate is locked to 60 frames per second, meaning that the viewfinder will always remain stable when dealing with fast-moving action. With the Z6III's viewfinder having increased brightness and increased resolution, Nikon also improved the color of the viewfinder. This is the world's first mirrorless viewfinder that can display P3 color through the viewfinder, really allowing you to see true-to-life colors and remove any color banding in difficult scenes with lots of variation of shade and color in the frame. The viewfinder of the Z6III is definitely something that you should try and see for yourself. The extra resolution and the brightness are apparent the very first time you look through it. Thanks to the partially stacked imaging sensor and the XSpeed 7 processor, the Nikon Z6III's autofocusing system has had a complete overhaul. There's new subject detection options and new focusing areas never seen in a Z6 series camera before. When it comes to the new autofocusing areas in the Z6III, first of all, you'll find wide area C1 and C2. These are fully customizable autofocusing areas that let you choose your own size, depending on the subject and environment that you're shooting in. You also then have 3D tracking. 3D tracking is something that Nikon's been famous for an awfully long time. And it's also the same 3D tracking that you'll find now in the Nikon ZF, Z8, and Z9. Alongside that 3D tracking and those wide areas, you can make use of subject detection. Subject detection allows your Z6III to figure out if the subject in front of you is a human, an animal, or a vehicle. If you're trying to shoot for wildlife, or portraiture, or sports, the subject detection can detect your subject in the frame and track it across the frame as it moves. For example, putting the subject detection option into human will allow the camera to look for a face, an eye, or the body of a subject that's moving in front of you. By putting the subject detection into animal, whether you are looking for birds, mammals, big cats, elephants, the camera will be able to search for the subject in the frame, detect that it's an animal, focus on the eye, the head, or the side of the subject in front of you. And when it comes to vehicles, the camera can understand the difference between cars, motorbikes, aeroplanes, and boats. When using the Z6III in low light situations, the AF sensitivity will go all the way down to -10 EV, which is the lowest of all of the Nikon Z series cameras. So for those of you working in dark, low light scenarios and want consistent, good, accurate autofocus, the Z6III is a camera that will perform incredibly well in those low light scenarios. When it comes to tracking a moving subject for wildlife or for sports, the Z6III can calculate its autofocus at 120 calculations per second. This is equivalent to the Nikon Z8 and the Nikon Z9. All of these new improvements to the Z6III's autofocusing system are going to ensure that you keep your subject sharp and detailed in the frame. The Z6III makes use of an in-body stabilization system. This stabilization system allows for up to 8 stops of VR, and this is particularly useful when shooting handheld in low light situations, trying to use the slowest shutter speed as you can, but ensuring sharp, detailed images. The in-body stabilization system of the Nikon Z6III also allows for pixel shift. Pixel shift allows you to capture multiple images and then combine those images in post to create a pixel shifted image. These images can either be improved color with less noise or even higher resolution files. You have the option of either shooting 4, 8, 16 or 32 frames. If you were to choose to shoot 4 frames, the resolution remains the same at 24 megapixels, but you get better color. If you shoot 8 frames, you get 24 megapixels with better color and with less noise. If you shoot 16 frames, that's the first option that will then give you a higher resolution. So your resolution will jump to 96 megapixels on the Z6III, and you'll also get better color information. However, 32 frames will allow you to get the high resolution of 96 megapixels, better color, and less noise when you combine all the images together. Pixel shift is a really great way of capturing a scene at a higher resolution if 24 megapixels isn't high enough for you. Those 96 megapixel pixel shift images can be created in post using Nikon's NX Studio software. The Z6III not only has improvements for stills photography, but also has massive improvements for video. The headline specification is the ability to shoot full 6K resolution in 12-bit NRAW internally directly to the camera's memory card. If you don't want to make use of Nikon's NRAW format, you can use ProRes RAW, H.265 in 10-bit or in 8-bit, and all whilst making use of Nikon's N-Log. The Z6III has lots of options when it comes to shooting slow motion. You can shoot 4K at 120 frames per second, cropped to DX, or you can shoot 1080 at 240 frames per second at full frame. Both of these formats can be recorded using Nikon NRAW or in H.265. If you prefer to shoot in ProRes RAW, you can shoot up to a maximum resolution of 5.4K at 30 frames per second. Being able to shoot in 6K or 5.4K allows for lots of flexibility when it comes to cropping to the right composition, especially when outputting in 4K or in 1080. The Z6III is also the first Nikon Z series camera to have an audio line-in. This allows you to capture much higher audio quality directly into the camera. The Z6III, being a part of the Z series of cameras, will make use of all of the Nikon Z mount lenses. This is a fantastic range of lenses that excel when it comes to sharpness, contrast, and detail. Whether you want fast glass at f1.2, or whether you want flexibility with wide zoom ranges from 28 to 400 in one single lens, the Z mount range of lenses offers lots of flexibility and extremely good image quality. You can still also make use of f-mount lenses. So if you're moving from a Nikon f-mount DSLR and you want to bring over your f-mount lenses, you can make use of the FTZ adapter, and those lenses will still perform incredibly well on the Z6III and still make use of a lot of the new features. The Z mount lenses will really shine when it comes to video and being able to be silently operated and also having minimal focus breathing as well. With all the new features and improvements in the Nikon Z6III, it's never been easier to take your creativity to the next level. Here's what some of the very first creators to have hands-on with the Z6III thought about their time with the camera.
My first impression was the body size fits my hands much better than the original Z6 and Z7 series, and that the whole camera felt essentially as responsive as I'm used to from the Z8 and Z9.
The standout feature for me, I would say the flip-out screen. I shoot a lot of low-angle stuff, and sometimes I really need to lay down to get my angle and look through the viewfinder, but with this monitor, it really makes my life easy.
The features on the video is really what the market requests you. So you're gonna shoot 6K, 60 frames per second. You can shoot full HD, 240 frames per second. In a small body, you will be even more mobile. I think that's gonna be a game changer.
I felt like I've been using this camera for a really, really long time. It felt just like picking up my Z9. There were times, especially using the battery grip, that I didn't even realise I was using a new camera, and it didn't create any barriers for me. I was able to create all of the images that I wanted to on this trip.
If you want to find out more about each of those creators' thoughts around the Nikon Z6III, then be sure to check out the special edition episode of Nikon Sessions all around the Z6III in Cape Town. Thank you so much for watching this initial introduction to the Nikon Z6III, the latest addition to the Nikon Z series of cameras.